Hello, folks. Another episode of Burning Platform and another episode with my friend Marty Groover. We're going to talk about winning in the fourth industrial revolution. And Marty is going to talk about his new book, Speed of Advance. Marty, welcome again. You're looking good. Your book looks even better.
Hey, Vinny, thanks for having me on again. I'm so excited to be here. And this thing has been in me for a while. You and I have, known each other for many years, and I've just wanted to get this book out. And I really do believe the methodology in here that I learned in the Navy and how I applied it to the civilian world, at Caterpillar and other customers that I work with now will really help businesses win in the fourth industrial revolution, because it really is. How do you converge people, process, and technology? I wish there was a silver bullet, just throw technology at it and it would work, but it really doesn't. And the key topics in here, themes, will really make a difference with customers, I believe. Okay.
So Marty, Speed of Advance sounds like a Navy term. Explain to the audience what the title means.
So one of my jobs in the Navy as a surface warfare officer was being an officer of the deck. Very important job. You're responsible for driving the ship safely, making sure you get where you're supposed to, executing ship schedule all day. And one of the key KPIs or key process indicators on the bridge was speed of advance. And every time the captain came on the bridge or executive officer, they'd say, "Hey, what's our SOA?" And why do they ask that? It's so important. Our actual intended track and the speed we need to be at to get to where we're going in the ocean. We don't just drive around the ocean, taking our time and figuring out. We always have a mission. We're going somewhere. We're going to the next place. And the other key piece is there's not a lot of gas stations out at sea. So it's not like you're just going to run around at 25 knots and burn all that fuel. So you always try to bank time, pull time back, and stay in that 12 to 15 knots, because that's where you're going to be most economical. And then when I got in manufacturing, I was an operations manager, a manufacturing engineer, and then facility manager. That sort of mentality and thinking about, hey, how much am I supposed to spend today? How much am I supposed to make? And always measuring that. Scrap, quality, delivery performance, all those things to me were the essence of speed of advance. So that's why I wanted to write this book and really help people understand that everything you're doing with Industry 4.0 is about measuring your processes and getting the most out of them, being the most efficient. So the key to this book is there's three main themes. It's really how to converge people, process, and technology. And that sounds easy. It's a simple topic, but it really is challenging. And when you look at it, there's so many people concerned that the fourth industrial revolution, I hear it all the time, is just going to get people out of jobs. They're going to have to get some sort of income from the government. And I just don't believe that's true. I'm working in manufacturing now, and there's so many jobs going unfilled because people just don't want to work in technology manufacturing and supply chains. And what I believe is this technology is going to give us the right balance to making people more productive, make their work life so much better, but people will still be the critical piece. I learned this in the Navy, that even though we took the man out of the loop in a lot of jobs and let the systems, automated systems, for instance, the radar systems, the command and control systems, do a lot of the work, it freed that human up to be a lot more productive. And then it's really about processes. How do you take those digital twins, digital threads that we always discuss, and codify your processes digitally, measure them, and then by exception, tell the humans, hey, I can't figure out what to do with this. You need to solve this. Again, clearing away all the noise that humans usually have to deal with in supply chains and manufacturing, or really any business, and give them just the key things that they need to do to make the mission a success. And then the last piece is the technology. You got to have experts that understand how to leverage that technology. I always tell customers when I go in there's no silver bullets. I wish there was. I wish I could just give you like a pill and here you go, put this in and it's magic. It's not. It takes a lot of hard work, and it takes people to really almost be those translators. I call them bodhisattvas that help people in supply chains or manufacturing understand, if you do this, this, and this, and use this technology this way, you're going to have a better business outcome, but also keep those new processes in control and drive that continual improvement we always talk about. So those are the main themes in the book.
Marty, the people part is especially, given all the shortages we're seeing, especially important right now. I interviewed the CEOs, co-CEOs of 6 River Systems. They make warehouse bots. And, the topic came up, this is a few months ago, but they said, we have examples of young mothers who go home, proudly tell their kids, I get to work with their robot's name, R2D2, or whatever they call the robot. There's
They
this
always name them too.
pride
Which
of being around automation. And, I'd love to see Mike Rowe talk about dirty jobs and so on. We need to bring passion back into manufacturing, and can't do it without people, right? So.
No, I agree. And I think when you look at, I call it America 2.0, but COVID exposed what's always been issues with our supply chain. And all it took was some gappiness in the supply chain to really show the disruption. And I do believe that continent of consumption and manufacturing is going to move back to the United States because of the speed of retail and the, just the distribution centers that have really accelerated during COVID and are going to drive manufacturing from these monolithic, huge factories, probably down to little distributed places that as a whole, aggregate that sort of manufacturing capacity, but leverage the lines of supply the way they are now and the way they've been spidered going forward. So I'm really excited to think about the opportunity going forward on this.
Sounds like nuclear fission, right? Smaller reactors, hopefully safer, much more efficient. So,
and less impacts, right? If one goes down, one loses power. I mean, we look what happened in Texas a few years ago. Less impact, less disruption. I think that's what we're all looking for, right? So one of the things that I see in my consulting business is business leaders have access to more tech tools. One of the charts that's in the book, really in the beginning, really talks about multi-factor or multifactorial productivity that is measured by our government. And believe it or not, the third industrial revolution, the Silicon Age, so to speak, the PC, in 2011, 10, somewhere in there, it's debatable, but we started actually having negative productivity. And you think we have all the tools, we have all the computers, the ERP systems, which you love. We put all these things in place, but what's happened is there's so much of it and it's not converged properly with people that we're actually less productive with more data. And you think, how could that be? But it's the truth, because people now have some automated data, but it's still not aligned properly and codified with the processes. People are hauling tons of data out of huge databases and trying to create the prescriptive or the predictive, ahas out of that data, but still it's not properly aligned to the process. It doesn't, and the vertical thread is just as important as the horizontal thread through the supply chains of manufacturing. So it's like diagnostic. Okay, you have a problem. What is the problem? And what are the main reasons of the problem, so that you only have to do the improve and control. And this is where it's gonna make a big difference. And people are feeling overwhelmed because they know they have to do something. They know it, they see it, they read it every day. But what I hear a lot of them is, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to do this. What I know for sure from my experience between the Navy and what I've done, working in manufacturing and now into this new world of IT, OT, IIoT, all those buzzwords, is that if you don't have a foundation of capabilities that you want to have to drive your business by converging people and process and technology together. And for instance, the Navy's situation was the speed of air warfare was too fast and humans could not react to, Mach plus missiles anymore. And they had to build a system that did a lot of that heavy lifting and then let the humans in when they needed them. And that's what's going to happen. But you really have to understand how to wire that together so that the people are trained, they understand what they're supposed to do, your processes and codification of what you want them to do with the data and how they're going to react to it, even being prescriptive to say, you need to do this, this, and this based off this scenario. And then weaving that technology in where you get the best and fastest outcomes from that technology. So this is
Marty, I interviewed
important.
the CEO of a next generation forecasting kind of company, right? And he was saying two of the biggest issues we have is we don't have a common taxonomy across the enterprise, right? So the supply chain is in units of whatever, and HR is in units of whatever, and financials are in units of dollars and so on. And the other thing he said was, we're really poor at taking external signals. We're still very historical and internally focused. ERP, right? You say I love ERP. ERP is actually one of the worst enemies because it's so freaking backdated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're to your point, it's all three need to be aligned.
Absolutely. And, this is a term I learned in the military too, a common operational picture. And what you just spoke to absolutely integrates with that holistic way to look at your systems as a platform. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of siloed systems out there. And you spoke to that, the external data. But, in 2004, I was on the John F. Kennedy Strike Group, and I could actually see my aircraft over in the Battle of Fallujah supporting Marines on the ground, even to the point where I could tell which Humvee my F-18 tail number was connected to and supporting, and even that they dropped a JDAM bomb on a target. And that was unheard of many years ago. But that's what we need in our supply chains, that kind of common operational picture. So when we look at it, we use the data, it's all single source of truth, everybody believes in it, and now we're reacting off from that. So that's a great point. And then, but again, if you don't understand how the people are going to use it, how's it going to support your process? You can put all the technology in the world, it won't make a difference. And I see this a lot. There's a lot of, we're going across the chasm of technology and then what to do with it. And that dip they always show of the next generation of technology, where there's people are starting to launch across from that. We're seeing a lot more demand. COVID, I think, has accelerated it, but they're still feeling bogged down. Where do I go here? And this is not a overnight, like installing some software program. You have to really be invested in your business, understand not technology. People focus on it because that's an easy button. Oh, I want this shiny object, or I'm a favorite of this. And they lose focus on really, what do you need to be able to do? What's that capability that will make a competitive advantage, improve my business outcomes, improve the work life, and engage my people? Those things are critical. That's why we use supply chain operational reference as a foundation, because it's agnostic of technology. It's just a process. It's just a capability, but it's critical to get them aligned, almost like a firing train to fire a weapon. All these things have to be aligned in order for that round to go out. That's really what you want to do with the technology and the capabilities with people, process, and technology there.
Marty, you were kind enough to send me an advanced copy of the book. I loved how much personal history you bring up, personal perspectives, right? Your experiences in the Navy, Caterpillar, and so on. It's real practical. What else do you want to tell the audience?
Yeah. Another thing is, and we touched on this, but no matter what, people are the most important resource. And I know we talk about automated airplanes or automated trucks and all that. It still requires people. There's nothing that machines can't do everything. And if we go forward, one, we have the responsibility not to try to replace all the people, because that nightmare scenario we've seen in a lot of science fiction movies can have the boomerang effect. We've heard about Tesla cars wrecking that were fully automated. There's other horror stories in that. I'm sure they'll get the technology worked out. But as we develop going forward, we need to understand that people are still going to be in our company. They need to be upskilled. They need to be digitally knowledgeable and understand what you're trying to do with your processes. No more in a day can we just have people that say, the Henry Ford method, do this a little bit, that's all I need you to do. I think those days are gone, because you need the people even at the lowest level to understand why you're doing stuff, why it's important. And some of the topics that I talk about in there, like command by negation, without that, our military wouldn't run. Everybody used to say, well, you're an officer, it must be great, you just tell people what to do. I said, if I have to tell people what to do, we're going to fail. We're not going to defend the country, because everybody has their job, everybody has their mission, and they have to have that authority to act. And this is where the technology comes in, that if this happens and that happens, you use the technology to say, do this, this, and this. Don't ask, do it. And at the speed of retail, everything's going to have to run at the speed of retail in our world, and it cannot rely on waiting and asking leaders what to do and things like that. Those days are gone. So as people think about how they're going to leverage the technology and converge people process technology, they really need to think about empowerment and how they're going to have those people help run their business better than it's ever run before, and really understand what they need every day to drive the type of speed that we're going to need through our supply chains.
Marty, on the dystopian automation, too much automation, right? I wrote a book 5 years ago on automation. And I studied, I mean, back then there was a lot of worry. Oxford had come out with this very scary scenario that 40% of all jobs can be automated. I mean, it was a flawed study because they took tasks, not the complete job. You can replace tasks easier than complete jobs anyways. But there was a lot of scary scenarios out there. And I went back and I looked at 100 years of automation. So I looked at UPC codes, right? They were originally patented in the 1940s.
Yep.
Didn't become mainstream, started to become mainstream in grocery chains in the 70s, really took off in the 80s and 90s, but took 40 years of gestation, right? Same thing with stick shift. Automatic transmission's been around since the 1960s. I think Chrysler launched them in the 60s. 50% of the cars sold today around the world are still stick shift, right? So society has a way of, I call them guardrails against too much automation. So I don't worry about automation, though I will tell you, I've seen in the last couple of years, a lot more focus on people are saying, I need to automate. I can't find the talent. And that's scary from a labor perspective. That is scary, but then, they don't want the jobs. What's business supposed to do?
Yep, you have to. But you have to be smart about it. And I'm helping companies now determine where should you automate, and and this is where, again, I look back at the Navy and I didn't understand the brilliance of it at the time. I was ignorant to, I didn't know what I didn't know. But the way they looked at air warfare and said, I can fully automate and fire this many missiles off of Aegis weapon system. I can track 200 and whatever odd targets, and the system can do everything by itself. It's not the way we want to run. It's only an emergency we run that way, but we run at different scales of automation based off the operating environment we're in. And that's the way I see businesses are going to have to work. Where don't we need people in the loop? Where do we, just let it run because we can't keep ahead of it? When signals get so big, it is going to be a journey though. You're right. It's not going to be overnight. But the foundation, if you get the foundation of understanding how you want to do it, then you can build that cop up from the bottom, almost the Purdue model or the ISA 95 stack the right way, because now you're thinking about it differently. If you just think about it, I want to just put sensors on everything, you're going to fail.
Fantastic. What else, Marty?
And then it's really about getting your processes right. And this is where, again, in the military, it was all about doctrine and how to run, commander's intent. So basically leaders in the military said, this is my rules of engagement. This is how I want to run. And all the processes and training was, the processes were built first. Here's the capabilities we got to have. We got to be able to do this many air contacts at one time. We got to be able to fight, and they had those criteria. Then they built processes around the criteria. Then they built training around it. And it's really about the codification of processes, saying, this is how the process is supposed to run. And this is where speed of advance really comes in. What is speed of advance? Well, it is my actual achievement of the track that I want to be on, my intended speed to get to a point in a certain time in the most lean and way to get there, efficiency, and always knowing where I'm at, actual versus plan. And when you think about your processes, and you said it before, task, I think is great. Here's a task. I don't do these tasks just to do them. I do them to get an outcome. But this is where the vertical roll up has to be. If I'm a simple, KPI manufacturing, today I was supposed to build this many based off the schedule, based off the manpower, based off my supplies, my materials, all of that. I was supposed to build this many a day. How many did I actually build? And you would think, well, that should be easy, but you'd be surprised how hard it is every day to get that data out of these systems, because we don't understand. And then when the processes aren't right, what's the root cause? What are you going to do about it? And then how do you drive back into that target so that you don't get too far behind? Because everybody knows once you get far behind in a build schedule, the economies just go out the window and you start really wasting resources to try to get back on track. And it takes everything out of process and everything becomes manual. You can't run a business going forward that way. You're going to have to trust the systems and those processes in those systems that are digitally codified to drive you to the right behaviors and what you're going to do about it. So
Marty, the book is available on Amazon. Tell the audience. Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
Yep. So the book will be released next week. It's kind of a cool date, 2/2/2022.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Next week, you can get the book. We're going to have 3 or 4 days, I think, till the 25th of reduced cost for the audio or for the digital version. So if you want to get out there and help me pump up the sales, I'll have links in all the websites, and you'll be able to find it. There's no other book besides mine on speed of advance, and we'll have that for 99 cents. And if you want to give me a review, I'd appreciate it. But then, and then there'll be quite a bit of marketing after that and more work out there. And then with customers that want to learn more about this, we also will be able to provide this in a consulting way to help you think strategically about where you're going to go with this, because it's a heck of a lot better to measure twice than cut once on the Industry 4.0, because it's a big
Hopefully,
hairy
you won't sell your consulting for 99 cents an hour. There's too much,
no.
Marty, in this. Thank you.
Yep. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having me on, Vinny. Always great to talk with you.
Thank you.